Genesis 16 verse 13. God seeth me. These words were said by Hagar the Egyptian maid of Abram and Sarah. She found herself in a predicament, into a desert place while she was yet pregnant. She found herself in a bad situation. She was in the center of a marriage. She had a wife that now hated her and treated her harshly. She had a man for whom she conceived, ignoring her predicament. She was now alone with a child. She ran away from her master and was wandering in the wilderness. It might be said she was heading back to Egypt. An angel of God found her by a fountain and spoke with her. Whence comest thou, and whither wilt thou go? Where are you going? Certainly not back to Egypt, certainly not back into the depths of sin. She proclaimed after the word from the angel, God seeth me. I would like to say to someone in a very turbulent time, take a moment to read this passage. The angel told Hagar to go back and submit to her mistress. Maybe there is someone you need to apologize to. Go back and submit. It's better to do that and remain in God's presence than to return to Egypt. Have you been the source of a problem on the job, in a marriage, in a family, or at school? Are you running away from having to humbly apologize? Confront your problems and do the honorable thing. Seek to please God. God has seen your affliction. Some might be brought on because of your own actions. However, God is seeing you. He watches over you and He is ever faithful and He is a merciful God. Seek His heart today. Word to wounded woman. As you look at Genesis 16, we see here two wounded women. However, we will look at a wounded wife, Sarah. This woman was unable to bear her husband's children. It was so very important in those days to bear your husband a male child. This wife, a good wife, could not conceive. She felt incapable of giving her husband something he needed, something their culture valued greatly. She blamed herself. It's obvious Sarah could not conceive, as we saw Abram conceiving, so we know it was Sarah who had a problem. Waiting on this blessed promise for years, and nothing was happening. A selfless woman and wife, she suggested to her husband to take her maid to be his wife, as was the culture in those days. He followed his wife's idea, and here was a woman pregnant for him, a woman who can bear her husband's children, or who was born her husband's children, still can't bear to see another woman pregnant for him, much less a woman who absolutely cannot bear him children. You can imagine how she might have been worried about losing his love, worried he might get really close to the other woman. A part of her husband was now growing in another woman. Worst of all, now this other woman was despising her, maybe mocking, not acting proud and boastful against Sarah. Here is a wounded woman, and like the saying, hurting people hurt others, Sarah was now treating her maid very harshly. When we are hurt, if we are not careful, we treat the other people around us very harshly. We become bitter, angry, and impatient. Here is a wounded woman whose marriage is now having contentions because of something she introduced to her marriage. Be careful of the things you introduce to your spouse or to your children. Be even careful of the people you introduce to your family. To avoid future hurts and pains, make sure your decisions for your life and family are in accordance with God's plan and will for you. Her impatience and doubt caused her to try to help God make His word come to pass. Remember, God is sovereign. He doesn't need your help to bring His word to pass. In the fullness of time, His word will be made manifest in your life. Don't be a victim of your own actions, born out of impatience. They can make you a wounded woman. Getting back from the edge. Here we see Hagar, a hurting woman. She was thrown out of her house. She needed an attitude adjustment. Her pride led her into destruction. Her relationship with her boss destroyed. She was now being treated so harshly by her boss. When she could no longer endure it, she ran away. Hagar was now on the edge, ran away without a plan, maybe uncertain as to where she was really going. The angel of God appeared unto her, saying, basically, Hagar, get back from the edge. I want to let someone know today, regardless of what you are going through, regardless of your errors, God still has a plan for you. She was found by the angel, by Beer-lahai-roi, the well of God. It was an oasis for those in need. Even in your troubling situation, your heart might be torn apart. Seek for that oasis, the well of God. Here the angel gave her a promise. She was carrying a seed born out of a bad situation. Nevertheless, God was able to make the bad into good because he saw Hagar's affliction. Are you being afflicted? Do you feel at the end of your road? Have you acknowledged your errors and sought God? He is right there right now in the midst of your pain, telling you to get back from the edge. Do not act irrational and cause yourself further pain, anguish, or embarrassment. Listen to the whisper of the angel. He has a plan for you. Your ministry on the inside will not be destroyed. He is able to multiply what is in your innermost part exceedingly. Arise, return to your place of comfort, Hagar. Change your attitude and humble yourself, though you might think you have your right. Humble yourself. The wilderness is no place for you. Return and give birth to your ministry in a place of comfort and where there is provision. A place where there is help for you. A place where there is anticipation. A place where you will also experience mixed feelings and emotions. However, that's a place where God wills for you at this point in your journey. This is to encourage someone out there in ministry that might be feeling weary or faint. Psalms 27 verse 13. I would have lost heart unless I believed to see the goodness of the Lord. Job said, though worms destroy my body, yet in my flesh I shall see God. It was believing still that kept Job. There are times in our lives as believers, ministers of the gospel, that it would appear that nothing in our lives or current situation reflects God's word to us. It is critical in those moments to still believe. It seemed only natural for the disciples, after seeing their word on the cross, their hope, their promise, to follow Peter back to fishing, back to Tiberias, going back to what God took us from, maybe a job, a lifestyle. But seeing we have received this ministry, let us not faint. Let us not be weary, but trust God. Let us not faint, lose consciousness, lose heart, but let us continue to hold on to the word we have gotten from the Lord. The word you have to stand on will come alive in your life, even if it now appears to be dead. It might seem we are failing at what we do, but through faith, continue to speak life to your situation. Speak life over your ministry. Write the vision and make it plain. It has been proven that often people who succeed are those who record their dreams where they want to be. Your dream can't be killed. It's you that can be. Joseph's brothers said, let us kill the dreamer and see what becomes of his dreams. The devil wants you out. That's the reason for all your pain, for all your struggles. It's to make you weary and feel faint. It's to make you despondent and walk away from what is on the inside of you. A mother who is about to deliver has to believe and dare not faint. The nearer the delivery, the more intense the pain and the closer the pain gets. Does it seem as if you are suddenly experiencing one pain after another, like all hell is against you, like no demons left in hell? They are all out to get you. You may be nearer than you think to your moment of deliverance. Zechariah 3 verse 1 and 2. Satan stood at Joshua the high priest's right hand to resist him. Can you imagine the warfare he was going through at this time in his ministry? A high priest was no ordinary person. A high priest means he was not thinking of going into ministry. He was in ministry. Mighty God, it took God to rebuke Satan, he said. The Lord rebuke you, Satan. Is not this the brand plucked from the fire? We know we have been plucked from the fire to do the work of the Lord. But now we are facing strong resistance from the enemy. Do not faint. Continue to believe that he is able. He who started a good work will perform it to the end. Micah 4 and 5 are beautiful passages. Chapter 4 and 4 and 10 explain. Chapter 4 verses 4 and 10 explain the pains a woman in travail. Pains in ministry. Mighty God, it says, to Babylon shall you go, and there you shall be delivered. Your deliverance is coming in a strange place, in a strange way. What is certain is that it is coming. Chapter 5 verses 2. But you, Bethlehem, though you are little among the thousands in Judah, yet out of you shall come forth to me the one that shall be ruler in Israel. So what was all this pain for? The pain is described in chapter 4. It is because the pain was leading to the birth of the Messiah. Your pain is leading to something. It's pain with a purpose. The women who have children reading this will be able to tell how difficult it can be listening to a midwife or doctor when the labor pains are on. But even at this point, we need to hear and obey. Yes, we need to, in spite of the fright, the sweating, heavy breathing, baby pushing, ministry swelling, to hear that God is saying to us, to hear what God is saying to us. Listen through the pains. It can make your life and delivery process a whole lot easier. Because even at this point, you can still miscarry. The devil desires to sift you. You know you have been called. You are persuaded of your purpose. You have been trotting the road a long time. You have received many words of prophecy. But even so, you have got the revelation of who Jesus is. Man, people are depending on you. People's deliverance tied up in your ministry. But at this point, there is indeed a wrestling. Evil might ever be present even now. Evil seems ever present even now if you can find it in you to believe. I would have fainted unless I had believed. Your future depends on your now faith. Hebrews 11 verse 1. The thing I love about David most of all, he never pretended to be always on a high. He was true to himself and to God. We saw his praise days, his low days, his sad days. We saw a real person. We will never be always on a high, and that's the reason we should pray for each other. God bless you all.